Welcome everyone, Sherri Coffelt here. I am so excited about today's guest. You are going to get to meet Mallika Malhotra. Now, Mallika is an award-winning brand strategist. She's a mentor and she's a speaker. After years of working in corporate advertising on brands like L'Oreal and Oil of Olay, both brands we know really well, Mallika now helps women entrepreneurs get clear on their brand message, find their power niche, and become the sought-after expert. Her friends and clients call her the brand energizer because she's a strong believer in getting out of your comfort zone, taking action, and implementing ideas. When she's not building brands, Mallika is drinking coffee or red wine, sounds like a girl after my own heart, reading a stack of books, and dreaming about her next global adventure. So yeah, we may have to fit in a little time to talk about travel. That's my number one love. Today, Mallika is going to talk about how to grow your business faster with a BullsEye brand. Welcome, Mallika.
Yes, thank you so much, Sherri. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be able to talk about this. Defining your niche or niche, whichever you prefer to say, is so important for entrepreneurs. And I know it's something that so many of us struggle with. So let's just start with, what is a niche, at least in your definition, and why does it really matter?
Yes, so I call it a niche, but as you said, niche, it's all the same. So a niche is really looking at a sub-segment of the market. So many of us are in, maybe it's coaching or it's photography or you're a designer, and you could be in this broad, big market and you could be competing with so many different people. But when you make the decision to niche your brand, it means that you're actually strategically looking at a smaller segment of that marketplace, and you're tailoring your message, your expertise to actually meet the needs of a subgroup. So why does it matter? It's because in today's marketplace, as you know, it's super competitive. There are so many people. It's very, very noisy. It is saturated. That is the number one pain point that I hear with my clients is, how do I even stand out? And for me, having a niche is a way to stand out because you're actually moving yourself out of the broad, competitive, red ocean market, and you're swimming to what we call the blue ocean, which could be a smaller market. It could be an untapped market. It could be just a different segment that leverages your skills and expertise in a new way so that you stand out more, so that you're more targeted in your messaging, and you're actually much more focused in who you're talking to and what you are selling to them. And
Absolutely.
It's actually quite liberating and very strategic, and will grow your business faster because you're not worried about having multiple audiences, multiple micro businesses, which, to be honest, is very hard to sustain over time.
Absolutely. I tell my clients that all the time. It's like, you can have more than one niche, but if you do, you have to have more than one marketing strategy. And that's what people don't get. So, why do you think it is that so many people believe that they can market to everyone?
Yeah, I think there's this resistance, right? They want to have, it's hard to say no, first of all, when clients are coming your way and they're not the right fit, kind of feel it, but they're actually saying, I want to pay you for this. Will you create this for me? And you're like, oh, it's a little bit outside of my zone of genius, but they're here and they're willing. It's hard to say no to that.
Right.
I get it, especially in the beginning. And even in the beginning, you might have to do a lot of different things. You might have to experiment and validate and do the research in your business to figure out your lane. But at some point, you get burned out. At some point, you hit a wall, you plateau, you wonder why you're being overlooked or overwhelmed. And that's when you have to do the work. And it's hard because you have to say no. It's also hard because you actually have to make a commitment. You have to do the work in yourself, self-discovery, to actually look at, all right, these are all the things that I'm doing. I need to do an assessment, an audit, and I actually need to go all in on maybe one of those things. And that commitment is very hard for people. It's almost easier and safer to feel like you do a little bit of all of the things. But when you put your stake in the ground and say, hey, look at me, I am an expert in niche strategy. This is what I do with my brand. I'm owning it. But that means that it's easier for people to find me than if I just said I'm a brand strategist, which, yes, is a niche in itself, but it's still a little bit broad. Let's be honest.
Yeah. We talked yesterday. I had a workshop yesterday that we talked a little bit about niche. And one of the examples I used was, if you're a copywriter, and you could be a copywriter for obituaries, or you could be a copywriter for sales pages. don't you know which copywriter you want to know which one you're going to hire? So
Yes.
yeah, I think we use a lot of labels, like I'm a copywriter, I'm a business coach, I'm a brand strategist. And people like to focus, they say that's their niche, when reality, that's their label. That's what they call themselves. So
Yes.
it's a big distinction to me.
Yes. And we have to get more specific because there's just too many options in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And our customer is more sophisticated now because they have the tools at their fingertips to do the research, to consume someone's social media, to get to really know people. And so we need to get precise, we need to get tangible, we need to talk about the problems that we solve, we need to get very quantifiable with the promise that we offer. And that's all part of developing your niche.
Right. And that brings up a good question. When you define a niche, what are the core elements that you think make up your niche?
Yes. So I've actually created a framework that I bring my clients through. This is the BullsEye branding that I talked about, the BullsEye branding formula, AKA your niche. And so there are 4 different levels to it. The first is to specialize, to actually pick an area of expertise that you want to build your reputation around. That's the first step. The second is to pair that with a specific targeted audience. You should not be appealing to everyone. You actually want to polarize some people and say, I'm not meant for you, and that's okay. And you actually will be able to attract the real quality clients easier. The third piece is stand out. Looking at what is your unique value proposition? What do you bring to the marketplace that maybe other people's don't? And that could be the process you use. It could be the personality. There's a lot of different variables of what that superpower is for you. And then the last level is how you solve the solution that you offer. Do you have a certain vehicle or a certain platform that you use? Do you have a methodology or an intellectual property? And when you combine all of those 4 steps, then you can really start shaping a very specific brand that solves a specific problem for a very specific audience. And that's what increases the potency and the memorability, the findability, and the profitability.
Awesome. Now, how important do you think that defining the pain point of our ideal client is to having a solid, profitable niche?
Oh, it's so important. I mean, you have to know what the problem is that you're solving. Otherwise, how can you show the value of what you're offering to help them solve that problem? I think the problem that we often have is that we have multiple problems that we're talking about, multiple pain points. And it could be true that you help solve them, but in order to avoid confusion, in order to build clarity and confidence in your value, it's better to kind of narrow in on 1 or 2 power pain points that your brand, your niche can solve, and go all in on that. Really, the idea of niching down is about clarity. It's about being really tight and laser focused in your brand so that you avoid this confusion, this blending in with looking like everybody else, and you actually become an expert, and experts get paid more.
Yes, absolutely. And I, when I think about an elevator pitch, I hate that term. And it reminds me of the people that they have this statement and they walk into a room, and there's always one at every networking event, whether it's live or virtual, and they literally go around to person and they say the exact same 22 words. And it just drives me nuts because it turns your niche into something you've memorized versus something that's here, something that you really feel, and is going to have that other person that you're talking to really be able to self-identify and lean in if that's them.
Right. We want to avoid being generic, diluted, watered down.
Or jargony. That's the other thing.
A clone, cookie cutter, right? Robotic. We want the niche part will actually get you crystal clear on what you do really well, who you're meant to serve, and you no longer feel that imposter syndrome or the comparisonitis or the fraud, which sometimes relates to that roboticness where it's just safe. Let me just say this real fast, and then it'll go to the next person.
Right.
You're actually working in your zone of genius, and that energy is contagious because you're putting a stake in the ground that says, hey, you could go and work with everybody else, but when you work with me, This is what I am so good at. This is the result that I can promise you. This is my area of expertise. And this is the only person I really work with. That collectiveness is powerful, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned that, you know, once you start narrowing your focus and you're specializing, that it makes it easier for you to get well known. How does that show up?
Well, because when you're specific, you're actually painting a picture in someone's mind, right? You're making a very distinctive impression so that maybe when they're off and they're networking with someone else and they say, oh, you know, oh my gosh, my kids just left for college and I'm struggling and I'm looking for a life coach who deals with this. So maybe you're at a networking event and someone introduced themselves not as just a life coach, period, generic, but I'm a life coach who specializes in women that are entering the empty nest syndrome, who are looking for a sense of purpose in the next chapter in their life.
Right.
That picture is painted.
Right.
That specificity is
powerful. Yeah, they know. They know if that's
they know.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually forbid my clients to call themselves a life coach.
For that reason, because there's just so many, or I'm a business coach. No, are you a personal branding coach for women in corporate who are in C-suite? Totally different, right?
Exactly.
I'm not a graphic designer. I'm actually a graphic designer for book covers in the romantic genre.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I love it. And that leads to growing your brand faster, right? Because you're attracting those specific clients that are willing to pay you more to do what you do well.
Yes. I mean, and you're just findable. Like, think about it. No one's Googling life coach or graphic designer. They're adding detail to what they need to solve their problem. And that's how they're going to find you if you start communicating your brand in a more specific and specialized way.
Yeah. One of the things that you also talk about is curating your skills and strengths to create your specialized brand. Tell me what you mean by curating your skills and strengths.
Right. So many of us are Jane of all trades, right? I hear this all the time. I'm multi-passionate and I do so many great things. How can I not offer this? And that's why I have 20 offers on my website.
Yeah, right.
You're doing a disservice to your brand in some ways because you're diluting your power, your strengths, and your skills. And so often I go through an exercise with my clients where I actually have them list out all of their experiences, personal, professional, all of the trainings that they've done, all of their skills and strengths, things that people are picking their brain about, looking through their testimonials to see what are people already saying about them, putting it all on paper, because then you have a holistic view of what your power is for your brand, what you should actually be leaning into and, you know, leveraging as your expertise. You're going to see some patterns, some themes that keep coming up. And that's how you're going to curate what you want your brand to be known for. And that's where the power is. So instead of, you know, I hear this all the time and it makes me cringe. It's like, I'm a specialist. And then they talk about 10 things that they're a specialist. You're not a specialist if you're telling me 10 things. You're a specialist if it's 1 or 2 things. That's a specialist, right? You wouldn't want to go to a surgeon who said, I'm a specialist in brain surgery, spine surgery, and, you know, plastic surgery. No, if I have an issue and I can't walk, I'm going to a specialist in spine surgery. So it's that idea of really looking at what you've done in the past, looking at what you're doing today, looking where you want to go in the future, and curating that skill set and packaging it in a way with your superpower, with, you know, how you solve problems and who you're meant to serve, so that it is so powerful that people know exactly what you do and who you serve, and that you're the only choice. You're a category of one.
Yeah. And if I may, overlaying that with what people are willing to pay you for.
Yes, because that's important. Yes, of course.
That's such an important one. Yeah. Very cool. I love it. Well, this has been amazing. Now, I know you have a free gift that you want to offer our audience. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I have a free guide called Ready, Set, Brand, which offers templates to help you build your brand foundation. So I know it's always, you know, a little bit, you know, tough to like, what do I do for my brand mission or my brand vision? It's, you know, those are kind of cerebral things that it's hard to do on your own. So what I've done is created a guide with templates. It's almost like Mad Libs, fill in the blanks as a guideline to get you started. So would love to offer that to your audience so they can start the brand building on their own. And it's just a great tool so that you actually start to add some soul and depth to your brand.
That is awesome. So you'll find the link to Mallika's free gift in the show notes below. So go and get that, because I know I work with so many clients that getting this foundation in place and having a niche that they are confident about, that they have clarity on, is so important to building your business. And so many people gloss over it as a first step. So go get that free gift and put it to work for you. So Mallika, before I let you go, I have a final question for you. And that is, if you had known what you know today when you started your business, what would you tell your new entrepreneur self?
Wow. So I am been an entrepreneur for 20 years, so a long journey. And I think that what I would tell myself is it's not a race and you need to go at your own pace. The journey of entrepreneurship is long and there are highs and lows and it is a roller coaster ride. And I've seen so many businesses close or stop or pause indefinitely. And if you want to be in this for the long game, you have to think about, how to avoid burnout, how to go at your own pace, how to put your blinders on so that you're not comparing yourself to everyone else, and just concentrate on your personal best, what you need to accomplish at every milestone in every month or every year, and not worry about everybody else, because it doesn't matter, because sometimes they're not even going to be part of the picture at some point, maybe. And so you really want to go at your own pace. It's okay if you go slow. You'll have periods where you go fast, you go slow, you pause, but just keep going at it. Because I used to think I'd have to go at 100 miles an hour, and it was a race, and it was like competing with everyone, and it's not like that. You just do what you need to do to meet your goals, to meet the lifestyle that you want, to design the business that meets your needs as you want, and just keep going and it'll be great.
Oh, that is amazing sage advice. So totally love that insight. Well, Mallika, I really want to thank you for being here today. You've given us some great information on how you can create that amazing niche that's going to magnetically attract the clients we want to work with. So thank you once again for being here. Any last little comments?
No, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. I encourage your audience to work on that niche. It takes time, but just commit to it, keep working on it, keep testing it, keep talking about it, and you'll get there.
Awesome. Thanks again, Mallika.
Thank you so much.